Hi, my name is Keandra. I'm the dining writer at Tatler, Malaysia, and this is Lepas Sekolah.
Keandra, when you were younger, what did you want to do?
When I was younger, I wanted a rom-com job. So there were a few rom-coms that I really liked, and some of them were headhunters, writers, somewhere along those lines. So I think I'm pretty much, in the same realm.
What made you want to do this kind of jobs?
For this job that I have in particular, it's mostly the food and beverage that pulls me in. In my previous role, I was also working in food and beverage, and that is the point of continuation for me. Yeah.
And was it something that you always wanted to do since you were in school?
No, I actually had no idea what I wanted to do. Initially, when I started university, I wanted to be part of an ethics board at a hospital. As I did more research about it and as I studied more in ethics and also spoke to people that had that job, I realized how difficult and emotionally tolling it was. So it changed my mind.
And when you were in school, you chose to take IGCSE over the SPM. What was the reasoning behind it?
There was no particular reason that I chose either or. It was more of the breadth of options in terms of studying, and sort of in terms of subjects that I could choose with IGCSE.
In school, right, you have different types of students. So some tend to be more concerned about their social life and enjoying school. Some were more concerned about their grades. What kind of student were you?
Definitely more concerned with my social life.
And what was the reason? Was it
The way that I was raised by, like, my mom would always say work hard and play hard. So there were designated times that I knew that I had to put my head down and study and do all these things. But when it came to playtime, I also took it very seriously.
So let's say you were preparing for your examination or just throughout your year in school, how would you balance it?
It was more of a reward system, right? So if I did this, then I could do X. If I didn't do X, then I couldn't do Y.
Did the system work out for you?
I would say it did work out. I think there were moments that I definitely could have tried harder. It gave me perspective of being like, okay, if I wouldn't have known how much harder I would have needed to work, right? But also my parents were very supportive and they always said, as long as you try your best. Yeah. So that's
And
what I did.
looking back at your days in school, is there anything you felt like you could have done better?
Probably could have focused more. I had a lot of trouble not being the class disruptor. I was always known to be talkative in class, disruptive, so I maybe could have toned that down. But I think it gave me a lot of confidence and also just being able to speak to people, being able to speak to adults, speaking to teachers all the time.
And would you say that your time at KDU, did it shape you to think creatively? What was the environment like?
It fostered a holistic development. So I did a lot of sports, I did a lot of arts, and it was not very centered on just academic achievements, which I thought was great and really helped me with my own personal development and exploration of things that I like. There were a lot of opportunities for students to be part of bigger things. We had a lot of talent shows. We had, different sports competitions, and some of them were even international. I gave a speech at graduation. I was the MC for a few events. I was part of a few school plays. There were just a lot of different vocations that you could go into and explore if you wanted to, which was great.
And how did you end up doing for your GCSEs? Was there any subject that surprised you or was it particularly difficult?
I didn't think that it was particularly difficult. I wasn't a straight A star student. My worst subject was math. Terrible at math. I got a C, so I basically barely got a credit for it. But I actually really enjoy economics, which was surprising to me.
And following your graduation from GCSEs, you went to the international school in Park City for your A levels. Why the switch?
To be frank with you, because I live there.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's not really a great answer. But okay, actually, I was considering different schools,
Yeah.
Epsom, GIS, like all these A-level schools. And it was A-levels because my grandparents wanted me to study in the UK just because they had lived there for a long time. So it was more of that, familial ties to the UK. ISP was also because in proximity, sure, that was a
Yeah.
big reason, if not the main reason. But also, it was the size of the cohort. It was smaller. It was more focused, and my parents felt that it would have been better for my development to have more attention by teachers.
Was there at any point that you seriously considered heading to a boarding college?
Yes. So I considered Epsom and obviously KTJ, but I think I decided not to. I wanted to stay home. I wanted to be at home. And I knew that I was going to be off for uni anyway.
Yeah.
So I figured that I would just make the most of my time here while I still had it.
And you chose to do biology, English literature, and history, which is quite an unconventional mix.
So actually, I didn't start off with those subjects. I
Okay.
started off with triple science math, which was very difficult because my grandparents and my parents wanted me to be a doctor, da, 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 typical stuff. But then I ended up switching, did my first year of A level with literature, history, biology, and physics. And then I dropped physics and then graduated with a 3 and then my EPQ. So I leaned more towards those because I've always had an affinity towards essay-based subjects. I think the reason that I preferred those subjects is because I like to prove a point. I don't like having a set answer. I want to argue why my answer is right. I didn't like to be told that this was the only way that you could do it. This is the only answer that you could have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you mind telling us about your EPQ? What is it? What does it entail?
So the EPQ is an extended project qualification, and it's part of the AQA Baccalaureate, which is a type of exam board. And in my school, we did the Cambridge board, and then we also had the AQA Baccalaureate. And an EPQ is a standalone subject that you can do, and it's essentially a mini thesis, a dissertation. It was a minimum of 5,000 words, and you could do it on any topic that you liked. And that was, I think, one of the most important and crucial experiences that I had in my school days, in my schooling days, that prepped me for university. Because not only did I have to pitch my dissertation title, I had to draw up the plans for it, I had to learn how to cite properly, and all of these things that were helpful in my particular degree, which was philosophy, which is also an essay-based subject.
And what do you write about?
I wrote about the ethics of self-suicide, medically assisted suicide in particular. I wrote about the consequences of, whether there can be a line drawn between the propensity of suffering within mental health and also the same in, a physical deterioration of your body.
Let's say you were given a chance to redo your pre-university life.
Yeah.
Was there anything you would have done differently?
Probably not, no. Yeah, I really enjoyed my time at A levels. Ideally, of course, I would have focused a little bit more in school, but I also had a lot of opportunities where I was competing internationally for different sports. I was the head ambassador for the community in the school. So I organized a lot of charity events, school plays, fundraisers, and that also gave me a lot of project management experience within a school. And also, it was fun to be able to help out with charities and do it with the school community, which was quite a tight knit community as well.
Keandra, some people say that A levels is a horrible experience and it's stressful. Do you agree?
It was stressful. I think the biggest things that you can have and the best qualities that you can have in A levels and arguably throughout life, which is what I would say, um, is time management and discipline. Yeah, with those two things, you can do anything.
Perhaps it's reducing, but it still exists. A stigma against certain subjects, right? So the idea that STEM subjects, your sciences, your mathematics, your further mathematics are more employable. Do you agree?
Not at all. No. It might be easier, maybe, if we're looking at it only in the employability aspect. Is that there's something that you can argue, sure, but I think that there's so many jobs that are coming up that you don't even know are going to happen, that you don't even know exist. In 5 years, we might have so many other jobs, right? Especially with AI coming up and the world of tech booming, so many different startups. I think for me, I'm a strong believer in doing what you like, and those were the subjects that I liked. And everything else that comes with it, whether it's a job, whether it's money, it is a byproduct of that. So I don't think that anything is more or less more employable than the other. I think it also contributes to your personal development as a whole.
Keandra, upon your graduation from A levels, you studied philosophy at Essex. Why philosophy and why Essex?
Philosophy for me was a subject that I didn't really know existed until probably the second year of my A levels. And when it was a time of choosing what you wanted to study at uni and your UCAS applications, my tutor was speaking to me, what do you like about each subject? So for biology, I really enjoyed ethics. So we had a little section on ethics and what it meant to be, let's say we talked about epigenetics. How ethical is it to, you know, design your own baby, let's say, or clone people? What are the ethicality behind that? For history, I really enjoyed talking about political science. Authoritarianism is something that we study quite a lot in my second year of A levels. In literature, I really enjoyed also the discussion of meaning behind text, and also it was also quite philosophical because a lot of the texts would overlap. Sometimes we would look at old philosophers, and honestly, philosophy isn't everything, right? Everything started as philosophy, even in physics. So metaphysics, the study of the world and what is material and what isn't. Yeah.
Will you say your family was fully supportive of your decision to study philosophy?
Yes and no. There were some hesitations because it's not a very traditional subject that you would see Malaysians taking. I don't think I knew anyone else in my age group across all of the schools that also studied philosophy. At most, it would be PPE, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would argue that it was something that I liked, and I wouldn't do well in any other subject if I didn't like it. So yeah, they ended up being forced to be accepted.
Keandra, let's say there's a kid who wants to study philosophy, right, and
Yeah.
doing A levels. What subjects would you recommend him or her take?
Philosophy is so broad that there aren't many subjects that would be vocational to philosophy. I would say what would be helpful is something that was essay based, and that's probably the only thing.
What would you say is the biggest misconception about studying philosophy?
People always mistake it for psychology. So the moment I say I study philosophy, and they're like, "Oh, so you can read my mind?" No, and also that's not even what psychology is really about.
And in your experience studying the degree, what would you say are necessary skills for one to excel studying philosophy?
You need to have curiosity. I think curiosity is the biggest driver, not only in my academic life, but also in my personal life, in my career, even my professional life. Being curious was what allowed me to discover what philosophy was, to read in between the lines of what I liked in each subject and tie it to philosophy. Yeah, you just need to be curious. It needs to be, I'm not saying that it needs to be innate in your own life, but curiosity is a skill. You know, you can build to be curious about things. You can try to make a habit of doing research on things that have really nothing to do with you. You know, you want to find out about the most random things. What is the plant that is growing in your backyard, and you can find out the history and where did it come from, how does it pollinate. All of these things will give you the same skills that you would have in philosophy.
Keandra, did philosophy ever make you question your own beliefs and your own ideas about the world?
Always, always, almost every single day. Um, After every essay I wrote, I had an existential crisis. I didn't know whether I was real. On the first lecture, first day of uni ever, the first question that my lecturer asked was, how do you know that the chair you're sitting on was real? Is it because you can touch it? Is it because you can feel it? What is the explanation of that, and how does it link to it being real in your mind? Because you could be dreaming for all you know. You know, I think it's good to question it all the time. It's good to question everything around you because the famous quote is "I think, therefore I am," right, from Descartes, which is the only thing that you can be sure of is your consciousness, and the only way that you can be sure that it is real is that if you question everything else. Questioning authority is something that my parents also, to their not demise but to their inconvenience perhaps, is something that I did quite often. I would recommend doing that though.
Was there a particular philosopher that shaped your thinking?
Hegel is one of them, and anything to do with phenomenology. It's the study of perception. If I'm looking at my phone, let's say, I'm looking at it from the perspective of that is my phone, and then you're looking at that's Keandra's phone, right? How do you is that gap between perception something that can be naturalized, something that can be quantitative? And a famous piece of work from this is also called is the what is it like to be a bat. You can understand, biologically speaking, like physiology speaking, everything what it's like to be a bat, what organs they have, what functions of their organs, how do they see things, how do they live, but you never know what it is like to be an actual bat. You can't have that experience, you know?
Would you say it's possible for someone to study philosophy if they are not an avid reader?
It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because I really enjoyed reading, even throughout A levels, throughout my entire childhood, really. I read a lot. I think reading was what made me quite interested in philosophy in the first place. And if you don't like to read, it will be a very difficult subject. Yeah, because just simply because there is a lot of reading, and a lot of it is from older texts. So there will be a lot of interpretation involved. There will be a lot of just analysis of texts.
Would you say that your degree should be in the pursuit of your passion or in the pursuit of preparing you for work?
For me, it's passion. Yeah, it has to be passion. Being good at something for money, and being good at something that for the purpose of, you know, your own happiness and passion is completely two different things. And for me, I find that, like I said in the beginning, being good at something, which comes quite naturally from doing what you like, right? It will bring you the byproduct of money and the byproduct of employment. And also for me, it's just difficult to study something that I wouldn't have an interest in, really. I don't think I would be passionate about it at all.
Keandra, you went from studying philosophy to managing creative projects in London upon graduation. How did that happen?
To be frank, it's not very exciting. They were the first job that said yes. And during the time, I mean, it still is now, the job market is terrible, right? It was so difficult to get a job. It just so happened to be something that I was interested in, which was food and drink already. And I think that that really opened up my eyes to a career within hospitality. So prior to that, I don't think that I had any particular goal in mind. I wanted to work within AI governance when I first graduated. Yeah, I kind of just pivoted and adapted. And yeah, I'm really happy that that was how it turned out.
Working in the industry must have been fascinating, right? How do you say the London creative industry shaped you, or what do you learn from it?
London is just such a creative hub. And for me, I was working in drinks in particular, so a lot of alcohol. London is the cocktail city of the world. The access to great, incredible people and mentors was endless. My boss was a great mentor. He was so knowledgeable and so well spoken, and everyone within the hospitality industry in general was also so willing to share and so welcoming, you know? And the access to these opportunities was there just because you were in London. So I think that was really, really cool.
Was living in London everything you imagined, or was there challenges that you did not expect?
Oh, definitely. So many challenges. The weather was definitely a challenge. Coming from someone that, you know, is a beach girl, I like to be by the tropics, I like to be in the water. It was difficult to manage the weather. Seasonal depression is definitely a thing. Stocked up on my vitamin D. One thing that I did take back though was commuting. I liked commuting. I liked walking, but walking back with your groceries when it's wet and rainy is a whole other
Yeah.
story. Like it's a whole thing. It definitely came with its own set of challenges, but I would say that I more enjoyed it than I didn't.
What would you say is one thing that London gave you that Kuala Lumpur has not been able to give you so far?
I think it's also just the opportunities, you know. London, you have at your doorstep the amount of creative people that have the same goals as you, the same interests as you, is so much more than Malaysia. Especially with where I was working in alcohol, it's a little bit more taboo in Malaysia. It's a little bit more difficult to find a lot of people that are openly willing to talk about alcohol and the growth of it in Malaysia, which is an undeniable part of our economy, right? As with every other country, it's the access and the opportunities.
How do you know it was time, or how do you decide it was time to return home?
I was there for 2 years at that point working. The job market was quite difficult. My grad visa was ending, and my company didn't want to sponsor me. So I made the decision to choose to come back rather than to look for a different job there, because I knew it was going to be difficult to find a job, especially in the creative industry, that would sponsor me at that level. So I guess that's where the argument of employability would come in with your other STEM subjects, right? But even so, a lot of my friends that did STEM were having the same issues as me. So it wasn't even really, oh, you did economics at this school, you're probably going to get a job. That wasn't always the case. It wasn't promised at all. So I kind of figured, okay, you know what, time to come back.
Now that you're back, you're working with Tatler Dining. What's a day in your life like?
A day in my life would be I would come into the office in the morning. By lunch, I would probably have, a tasting somewhere, come back to the office after lunch, finish up some work, articles. By dinner time, I would also have another tasting and do that and come home. Yeah, it's quite a long day usually. Yeah.
What's the best part about working in Tatler Dining?
The best part is meeting people. I think being in the hospitality industry is something that I really enjoy. It gives me the passion to do what I do because it is tiring and it is a lot of work and it is a lot of socializing, and it's an aspect that a lot of people I feel like don't realize how much social battery you do need for this job. But at the end of the day, you meet the people that you are doing it for, all the way from your kitchen porters, from your dishwashers to the owners of the businesses. You meet everyone at every level, and you hear their stories, you hear what they have to say. Sure, the food is great, it's hard to complain, but I think it's the people that really make it.
Keandra, writing about food sounds like the life, right? But what's the reality behind the scenes?
Juicy, juicy. It's just honestly, it's just a lot of work. It's like I said, time management and discipline will get you everywhere. This job is a lot about time management because I am going out to events. I'm going out to meet people all the time. So we're having a lot of meetings everywhere. But that also means that I don't have a lot of sit down time where I can sit and use my laptop and write things, right? So having time management and choosing how you spend your time wisely is one of the most important things that I've learned in this role. Yeah.
Um, I think one question that people will always have, Keandra, is that do food critics ever get paid? And if they do, how do they ensure the integrity of their work?
It's hard because, honestly, not a lot of paid food critics are honest. A lot of it is, at that point, is transactional. And there are a lot of food critics for sure that are honest, but usually they come with a smaller following. The larger ones usually will have clientele that they need to appease, maybe is a word. It's difficult. It's difficult. You need to find the line of where should you be honest and where can you kind of sugarcoat it a little bit,
Yeah.
which is sad to say. I don't
Which,
know if I'm allowed to say
yeah,
that.
which nicely brings me to my next question, right? How do you write critically about something or about something, but still remain hospitable?
I think in general, the way that I would approach things, because for me, I wouldn't call myself a food critic at all. I would say I'm more of a food writer, and everything that comes with food, whether it's political, historical, anthropological, there is a fine line between that. So I think because Tatler Dining is quite a large platform, we choose to not spread negativity. So I would tend to take the route of, if I don't have anything nice to say, I won't say anything at all. And if I do have any criticisms, that would go directly to the chef or directly to the team. Yeah.
Do you think that the Malaysian creative industry, or specifically the F&B industry, when it comes to criticizing, they are a bit too polite? Does that exist?
Yes. Yes. I think there is a level of politeness that everyone has and everyone wants to maintain, because politeness a lot of the times is associated with professionalism. And sometimes to do your job well, especially as a food critic, you you can't be polite. You can always be nice, you can be polite, but sometimes people just take things the wrong way. If I say that this fish is overcooked,
Yeah.
then they might take it the wrong way. But that hasn't been the case for me so far. Everyone has been quite nice, and I think it's also because it's the way that you approach it and the way that you go around it, the way that you say it. I would never give criticism out to bash a restaurant. I would only ever give criticism to improve it.
Would you say there's ever been an instance whereby you turned down an opportunity to write about someone or about a restaurant because it didn't align with your values?
Yes, always. You kind of have to find the line between whether you are selling your voice for what, right? So there are times that I've pulled out of things, even in my old job, that I wouldn't promote a certain company because I knew that maybe their practices wasn't in alignment with my own ethics, with my own morals. Maintaining your own opinion and having your own opinion and your own principles is of paramount importance.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Keandra, you are one of the few people who have had the ability of experiencing both the creative industry in London and in Kuala Lumpur. What are the differences? And
I think London is where a lot of the creatives do flourish, but it's also a lot more competitive. So in Malaysia, I think that it's still quite competitive, but I think it's easier to stand out.
now that we're reaching the end of the interview, Keandra, what would you say is the next big milestone for you?
I don't know. I'm maybe pursuing a master's degree. I'm thinking of looking at political science or anthropology, or doing philosophy. I would love, with my political science degree, I would love to get into food safety, food waste, food regulation, because food is political, whether you want it to be or not. It is political. Or I would love to, maybe move to a hospitality group, managing different restaurants, helping R&D. The possibilities are endless. The skills that I've learned and gained in this job and my previous role has given me not only the ability to dream big and to understand that it's not a certain pathway in life that I have to follow, but also just the breadth of skills that I've gained and the different experiences and exposure that I've gotten from the two roles.
Can you describe your journey Lepas Sekolah in 3 words?
Insightful, tumultuous, fun. Yeah, I think it's so important to have fun. I think it's so important to like what you do. And if you're not having fun, why are you doing it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. My name is Keandra, and this is my journey, Lepas Sekolah.